for work, bro.
Yeah, that dude probably like.
I feel like he's a bank teller.
Yeah, he's not.
He's a bank teller.
Something tells me he's not a baller off Fat Chocolate Rain record.
I don't know. Like, was that an original like song or was it something that like,
Chocolate
he, like, covered?
Rain.
Like, is Chocolate Rain a real song?
Nah, I think he made it. I think he wrote that. That was a hit record though.
It was.
I never, for as viral as it, you ever wonder about like something like that where it's like, is a song that he recorded that went viral? Did he actually like, cause he was in the studio when he recorded that song. Did they end up producing it and putting it out and like putting it on streaming platforms? Cause if they didn't, and they just got popular off the viral record, they're idiots.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure. You know, he's got
that?
it on DSPs and
Yeah.
shit.
Who owns the NFT on that joint?
Yo, speaking of NFT, that's you remember that meme with the little like girl who's like 3 years old who's like there's a burning building, she's looking back. Yo, she made $500K off of that shit.
Yeah.
Damn.
So
that's
that's
just for now. Like, who knows if that gets resold and shit.
exactly.
You know,
So you know
Who
this.
took that photo?
I don't know, but he better get a cut of that too, or she better get a cut of that too.
Or
I'm sure her parents took that photo.
Yeah,
right?
and maybe her parents did. Yeah, exactly. But
her parents
shout
did.
outs to the chick who was watching the building burning like a sociopath when she was 4 years old, making half a mil off of that. Congrats. Anyway, we're gonna start now. So welcome to the Grindhouse Podcast. This is episode, I believe, is episode 69, right?
69. Yeah.
Nice. Hey.
I'm a little suspect of like John flying out for the 69th episode.
Oh yeah, we know we had to bring
nasty.
back John for episode
John is
69.
nasty.
You know, saying like gotta eat some ass and
Dinner for two.
yeah,
You know?
yeah. Yeah, you know, good to be here. You know, like seeing
Good to
y'all.
have you.
Yeah, it's good to have you. So real quick, I'm your host, well, a part of your host. I'm Edwin Cabrera, aka Steady Eddie. I got, of course, my homie, Day One, Chris Martin, aka Crit over here.
What's up, guys? As usual, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. It helps us out a lot. Also, if you want to support us, you can buy some merch at grindhouse.store. All right,
Word.
get into it.
Of course, I have our homie, newer host, but obviously, old friend, new host, JDM John. How you doing, man?
Good, man. Good to be here. Like I said, you know, we back here.
All the way from
Got
San
your pink
Diego.
coffee ready to
Got
go.
my pink coffee. I'm ready to
Aight.
talk some shit.
All right.
You know what I'm saying?
Alright.
Only gangsters, you know.
Only
like the pink,
gangsters
right?
pull out the cardigan and the coffee joint. You know what I'm saying? Shout outs to breast cancer awareness. You know?
Yeah, well, all right. Let's get into today's episode. Shout outs to breast cancer awareness.
Yeah. All right. Let's just jump into it. All right. So when I first pulled up, you had a documentary on that you wanted to talk about. It was Generation Hustle on HBO Max.
Yeah.
So it showcases TJ times two. Is that
Times 6.
No.
X6.
Yeah.
X6?
TJ X6, I believe is
X6,
his name.
and he raps about scamming people. That's sort of like his like aesthetic. That's what he does.
So pretty much we just watched a documentary called Generation Hustle, and the third episode, this TJ X6 guy is featured on it. Homeboy is a terrible rapper. Holy shit. And I know like Detroit rappers like
Watch
they're
what you say, man. He's gonna scam your credit cards.
Word.
he ain't gonna get much, bro. I maxed out
Not
on my
gonna
shit.
get
My
far.
shit is maxed out. He ain't gonna get much. but no, he like terrible rapper, but a prolific scam artist. So yeah, we was watching that. I had John over, and we were just watching that together. And yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting because it shows you that like sometimes the content is what the people are seeking, even if the music itself is whack. And Homeboy literally step by step tells you how to make money off scamming. So if you into that shit, you might want to check out that
You wanna
third episode
learn
of Generation
something?
Hustle. If you want to check out fucking scam artist tips and tricks.
Yeah. What have you learned from scamming?
I learned that scamming, first of all, I've never wanted, and I wouldn't, I have a job, so like I can't be talking about this shit. Like, but honestly,
I'll bleep
watching
it
that
out.
episode, like if I didn't have a job and I was like, I needed money, and I'm
Yeah.
not condoning this whatsoever. I'm just telling you how I feel. But holy shit, like that episode made me want to scam because it's like, first of all,
You heard it
they
here first,
raised
guys.
okay, so they raised a good point. Like, because one of the scams they showed was the swiping scam. So like pretty much like they go on the dark web, they buy 50 to 100 like these bulk credit card numbers from the dark web, and they have like, what is it called? I don't want to walk through the whole thing. I'm not gonna tell you how to do it. You gotta watch the episode.
Step one: get yourself a
just
VPN.
watch the
But pretty much, Homeboy has a whole setup where he's just like swiping these like empty cards and creating credit cards. Like literally, they call it swiping because like you're buying these like dark web credit cards that people who have their credit card compromised end up on the dark web. You buy it from the dark web or whatever sell on the dark web. You swipe these empty cards and you pretty much place their credit card numbers into that empty card and you go into motherfucking whatever, buy whatever you want, and then you're home free.
I think I caught this part, but I think that's how he got his name. Like the X6
yeah.
was
From the
like,
machine.
the device.
Yeah, from the machine,
Yeah.
the credit card swiping machine.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, long story short, they make a good point about who is really hurt by like these scams, because like your credit card company, once you report it, they give you that money back. The credit card company is insured, so they get that money back from insurance. I'm sure their insurance has a way of figuring out how to calculate these losses. So they're pretty much saying it's almost like like it's a minor inconvenience, or depending on who you are, a major inconvenience. Yeah. But you will get that money back eventually. So who's really hurt by it? So when they made that argument, like of course the side of me, the broke side of me that always exists, because if you've been broke once, you know the feeling of being broke. You're like, whoa, wait. Is this how all them because you be seeing, like I be seeing anyway, like mad hood dudes just be having crazy money to spend on these like brands and all this shit. I never had any type of money like that. And like when watching that documentary, it clicked. It's like, I feel like most of these dudes who ain't out in the streets like gang banging and doing like the real dirt, I feel like they're probably just scamming, and that's how they get all their money. Because it's like, I've always wondered how dudes be having like mad pairs of Jordans, like Supremes, like, we were talking about the last episode with Fort Popes. We were talking about how like, fashion, how like all these like Gucci's, all these like people, like even in people who don't necessarily have money, like those brands and somehow get those brands. And at first I thought it was just rip-offs, and then on another level I thought it was just people like doing what you do, John, with the cars, just like buying something but flipping it for a profit. And that's probably the case as well. But then the scamming part came in with the documentary. I'm like, I bet you mad dudes be scamming on the low. Because it's like, you ain't killing nobody, you ain't hurting nobody. You ain't really, I mean, you're taking somebody's money away momentarily, but they get that reimbursed once they, call their credit card companies. I think that's what they're doing.
Well, part of that doc was talking about like how to just get the product, right? Because like they got your credit card and they just kept swiping it away to like get the money. But remember we talked about off mic. We talked about how do they actually get the physical cash, because it doesn't go deposited into like a bank account or something like that.
They go to like an ATM and cash it.
Well, there was like scenes where the dude went to like Walmart and he was talking about going there and like using,
because you can only withdraw so much cash from a credit card account. You can't like it's not like a debit account where you can just withdraw from an ATM like $500. I think it's like most credit cards. Well, depending on what you have, it's like $150 you can withdraw from cash from your credit. So it's like like you said, I think it's more so they go to like a place, they buy a bunch of stuff and they flip it.
But they scam people on using like the Instagram sort of marketplace.
Oh yeah,
and they don't ever give them the item.
Oh,
So,
okay.
like,
wait, hold on, just to not get confused. So you're talking about a different scam. So we're talking about. So
yeah.
that's like that is another scam that they do, which is
they
like
have I think the dude was talking about he had Black China promote his stuff for like $2,500, and then just never.
I'm so tempted to explain, like when you say these, I'm so tempted. I want to explain that one, but like I'm just afraid that in me explaining it, it's like the FBI is gonna be like, all right, we got the excerpt of Edwin explaining how you pull the Black China scam off. Right. So I'm not gonna explain the Black China scam again. This is all in Generational Hustle. So you can check it out there. I'm not going to walk you through it.
No, but that was an interesting point because, like in the car world, right? Like the world's really small, like the community's small. Like if you like certain shit, you end up liking, you end up knowing everybody, right? So when a new person shows up, like that doesn't work in every industry, I think. Because like whenever a new person shows up, you get a screenshot of their account. And then it gets sent through like mad group chats, and like literally like your account gets popped up on like a Facebook group, and they're like, "Yo, do you guys know who this is?" And then a bunch of people are like, yo, he scammed me out of like $6,000 or whatever. And then like, you know, it's like a continuation of it. So these scammers are really, really good at what they do in terms of getting the circulation around. But eventually it does get caught on. So it's like, I don't know, like the whole Black China thing. Like, I mean, she got $2,500 out of it. I don't know how much money they really made.
Well, that's from one transaction.
Right.
So $2,500 from one transaction for simply reposting is not, especially from some random, it's not like an official company. It's like you're just making money off scammers. Essentially, like I said, I don't want to explain everything because it just feels like it's so incriminating to talk about something that's like a fraud essentially and scamming. But like, yeah, that's off one transaction. If you imagine how many people go through a celebrity who doesn't have a level of like thorough research on vetting certain companies and make sure they're legit, like a bunch of these scammers are obviously going to go to people that they know have been supporting, I guess, what they do. So yeah, they call it the Black China scam for a reason.
And he also got a record deal. Was it Atlantic? Because I did see that they were interviewing someone from Atlantic.
Yep. I don't know if I can't say that they got it official. They never said officially what record label, but they did show Atlantic, so you can assume that he took at least a meeting with Atlantic.
Gotcha. Okay.
But that whole show though, like that whole series, like everyone who spoke from his side, it was all like there's like a layer of scammerism in everything they said.
Oh yeah.
And so it was kind of hard to understand whether or not like what was happening was legit or not legit.
You know, I'm gonna be like a nerdy film guy for a second, but that doc reminded me of you guys know who Orson Welles is? Filmmaker. So Orson Welles, he did Citizen Kane, which is people say that's a great movie. It's so anyway, he made a movie documentary in the 70s called F is for Fake about a guy who used to forge paintings. He used to paint, like, imagine painting the Mona Lisa exactly how it looks. And he was so good at it. I mean, that was his art, was forging paintings. And so his whole career was creating replicas of certain paintings and then selling the replicas for an insane amount of money. This kind of reminded me of that because in the documentary itself, it almost becomes that aspect of what is real and what is fake. And they integrate that into the filmmaking. And that's what I loved about it. This kind of had that sense about it too because like you didn't know what they were saying was real or fake or not. So it's like you had to take every information with a grain of salt, which I enjoyed.
Yeah, when we get offline, please bring back up that topic again because there's a great Netflix series about it. I don't remember the name, but I came across it like super randomly, and it talked about some people from I think like Spain who like sold a super rare like piece of art, and they talk about the whole process of how you authenticate a piece of art. And then there was I think the person who was the authenticator was so excited to get like a chance to authenticate something that they didn't do their thorough research, and the painting never actually existed like as a real like thing that like that artist did. And the guy had passed away, so they had gone through like super deep metric measurements of stuff. Like they're like, oh, that yellow paint that he used wasn't available in like 1977, when the person was alive. So like there's no way that this could have been real. And I was like, yeah, that's crazy. Yeah.
All right. Is there anything else you guys want to add before we move on?
I would just say I feel like I've been struggling to watch something lately on any sort of streaming service. That episode or that series Generation, because I watched the first episode of that, which was about another industry. Like obviously we're a hip hop podcast, we're focused on hip hop, but I'm also like super into film in the film industry. And the first episode was about this con artist who was almost like just an artist in his con that targeted people in the Hollywood industry, and not like the biggest A-list artists, but people who are on that cusp of hitting a certain level of notoriety, who are like dreamers, who are like on that level where it's like this is your big break. And so the first episode is about that, like Hollywood people who are about to get a big break, and how a con artist uses that level of like excitement / like I'm there now, so like this is an opportunity that's feasible for me, and like drains people out of this. I'm telling you, that series Generation Hustle, fucking love it. It reminds me of back in the day when we used to watch remember when we used to watch like documentaries like Beef?
Yeah.
And it just be so like, you used to find out a whole lot about a world that you knew about but weren't that privy to. This is kind of like that for scamming. It's great. It's great.
Word. All right. Let's move on. Let's talk about so TDE. They've been teasing a May 7th release date. So who do you guys think is dropping on May 7th? I have a hunch. I think it might be SZA. She's been dropping singles, so I'm thinking it's probably gonna be her.
I'd say the same, yeah.
Yeah, because I feel like for Kendrick, I don't know if it's gonna be like complete out of nowhere. You know, it's gonna be like they're gonna tease something if it's Kendrick. Like an image or something. Like
I definitely don't think it's Kendrick, just because you're right. I feel like if it was Kendrick, the rollout would be much more. You know, the thing is, though, I did remember that not way back when, it was like in January. Remember that we had a segment where we talked about Kendrick shooting a music video? Remember that?
yeah,
I haven't seen that music video yet. So it very well could be Kendrick, because, I mean, we knew he was shooting something, and it looked very, like, Kendrick-esque
maybe
in
we
content.
get a Kendrick single that day, and then they'll be like, "Hey, we're dropping an album on this date." You know.
Oh. Okay.
So we might be getting that.
Okay.
We might be getting that
So
music video and single.
that's
that
what I'm
day.
gonna go with. I'm gonna go with, because I'm tempted to say SZA also. I feel like it's SZA as well, but just to be like, you know how they have on ESPN like the fucking like the talk shows where like everybody has to take some certain side to make the argument interesting. I'm gonna take that side. So y'all think SZA? That's a very fair point. I definitely think SZA is the most likely drop, because I don't think it's gonna be like Absol or somebody.
Yeah.
There's some TDE members that like have kind of fallen off since like their like height. Like Absol, bro, like nobody even talked, bro. At one point, Absol was like one of the like, yo, this guy's gonna be crazy huge, blah blah blah, so on and so forth. I haven't heard much from Absol since. I feel like
a song with Russ recently.
yeah, but like like I said, like
that's it though.
Yeah,
like I said, like
Nothing
even
on his own. Really.
is nothing big. But I like I said, I would say Kendrick, just because you're right. I think that it doesn't have to necessarily be like a release, like an album. And it could be like the beginning of a rollout for the album. And we know
I can't see them just dropping a Kendrick album.
No.
Like
I mean, people have done it. Beyonce does that shit all the time, like dropping albums on people's heads, like without expecting it. I just don't. Me personally, I don't think that that's the best rollout when you just drop something on somebody's head, because you get a little bit of a buzz of a surprise release. But I think it's better served when you have an actual rollout.
Hype, like knowing that like he's gonna drop on this date, like Drake, he'll like at least tease a little bit, like we know he's dropping something on this date, you know, so you got something to look forward to, but you're also like you're checking your phone at midnight, oh it's on DSPs, I can listen to the songs or whatever. So yeah, I just can't see TDE doing that with Kendrick at least.
I love SZA, and I fucking love Control. That's like one of my favorite R&B albums of all time. I would say maybe top 15, but I really hope it's just a Kendrick, the beginning of I'd rather the beginning of a Kendrick rollout than a whole project from SZA.
Yeah, it could very well be a Kendrick like single or something, because with the kind of like the pending of like maybe tours will start happening again or something like that, because the TDE tour was a pretty like Kendrick centric.
Well, I mean, this is why for me, I don't entirely think it is going to be Kendrick, because I feel like for Kendrick, he's a really big artist, so like touring is a big factor for those artists. That's the bag for them. It's like you're selling out arenas, so like I could see them kind of pushing the Kendrick album out a little further and kind of waiting to see what happens with events, because like I feel like that's what happened with the Drake shit too. It's like, you're not going to put out a Drake album when you can't have these massive shows. So, like, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and one last thing I want to say about that is, like, to add credence to your thought of it being just a single release, we haven't seen, especially from major artists, too many full project releases come out. And so I think that even adds to that idea of maybe it's not a full project, maybe it's a single, and maybe that single is from somebody that you've been waiting to hear from for a long time. Yeah. And like I said before, that Kendrick music video where he's like floating above an ocean, like we all saw that clip of him floating above an ocean in January. I haven't seen anything from that since. And so I really do feel like our hunch is probably correct in the fact that it could be a single for a later date of a release, because that would make sense, because like if you release something in the summertime, we're pretty, at least I don't want to speak for every part of the world, because India right now is getting fucked with COVID, but like at least in America the numbers are coming down. In Massachusetts our numbers are really coming down, and so it's feasible to see live performances touring again in the summertime, which would, the singles being released now would make a lot of sense for the summer. So
build that hype up. Yeah.
This is actually a good segue, because we did mention events. John, you mentioned events happening in Boston. They're starting to get sort of planned.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Bro, you ain't even from Boston, bro. You ain't even
don't
from
even
Boston.
live
What
out
are you
here,
talking
bro.
about?
First of all, I am from Boston.
Linda.
I was, so with my travels, I have to look up COVID guidelines, right? And my sister is actually an event manager or planner or whatever. And so she's talking about how like they're actually ramping up work to prepare for like all these events like weddings and all this other stuff.
Yeah. And
they're allowing like a certain number of people indoor and outdoor. I think it's like 150 outdoor, 100 indoor. I don't know what 50 people changes if it's indoor or outdoor. But I saw that I think in May they're gonna like allow indoor singing with like limited seating. So which basically means a concert. Right. So it's like, it only makes sense that like Boston is one of the more stringent areas, I would say, for COVID.
Definitely.
Right.
Yeah.
So, actually, matter of fact, there's people right down the beach over here fucking with their protest signs of Governor Baker being like, free us.
Yeah.
So
people
like,
are so dramatic. It's ridiculous. People don't realize like how stupid they look doing shit like that. But I mean, one factor for Massachusetts is like, I want to say it's like 96% of people want to be vaccinated. And I think it's like we have the highest like pretty much like people wanting to get vaccinated in the country.
Y'all so Bostonians, like, man. Once y'all want to do something, there ain't no stopping y'all. So it's like,
But I think a factor with that is just like, healthcare is a big industry here.
Yes.
So like we sort of like have a lot of trust in healthcare here.
Let's talk about real quick how that's gonna affect us for Grindhouse, because like we have been waiting for things to open up again, because I mean, I'm sure nobody follows us this closely, but we had a show last February, like right before the pandemic, and it was so fire that, I mean, I'm telling you, that show was so fire. We talked about this before on the pod, the only problem with the show that we were excited to really focus on and develop more was the fact that the turnout wasn't as great as we wanted it to be.
It was still good.
It was good, but we knew we could add more to that, and we knew the more we grew our brand, the more people would come to those shows. And since then, we have grown our brand, and we haven't been able to throw another show. We had planned at least every season of the year to have one event. So that would have been 4 events in 2020 had COVID not happened that we would have done. We now, especially now, considering the fact that we have the mural project that we're heading and we're developing, we have obviously artists that we're working with, and we have connections that we want to help promote. This summer, if things continue to open up the way they've been opening up, we can finally get back to trying to throw those events. Exactly. Oh my God, it's been a while. Yeah. That was a really exciting point, because we got that event that we threw last year. It was like a high. It was like people came, they fucking rocked out, they had a good time. Check out the mic, grab the mic segment on our YouTube channel if you haven't caught that, just to get a sense of what that was like, the energy there.
Yeah.
But overall, very, very excited that things are opening up, because like that's the one thing. This year we've been on Zoom doing the podcast the whole time. Yeah. As you can see, we're finally back to being in person, which I'm excited about, just because the quality is it's just better when you're in person. It just sounds better, as you can tell. It looks better. We can actually conversate and not like feel like we're cutting each other off all the time.
The timing is just better.
Dude, I'm so excited to be back. But with the events, we have so much shit that we want to roll out and do, that we feel like people are actually like, people are in the know about what we do enough that when we throw the next event, I'm sure it's going to have a nice turnout. And so I'm really excited, really excited.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm super pumped for it. All right, let's, is there anything else that you guys want to mention? Okay. Let's talk about Lil Durk. he's interested in purchasing O Block in Chicago.
Yo,
And that's where he grew up.
That's beautiful, honestly. Like
Yeah.
if he really buys out O Block, because it's just, it goes back to like the Jay-Z 444 album, where he talks about like, you know, like spend like, you know, like don't, you can't rent your block or whatever. Like you should go back and buy the block kind of thing.
Yeah.
Dude, if Lil Durk does that, he's a legend. Like he really needs to do that.
Yeah, it actually reminds me. I was actually watching this episode last night of Snowfall, when the main character is like interested in buying some property, and the guy didn't want to like let it up. He was like a slumlord. It kind of reminds me of that. Like Dirk can like go in and like make this a great place to live, and like not be a slumlord. But hopefully, that's what I'm saying.
Here's what I'll say about that.
And invest some money into it.
I like that. I absolutely is like what JC was saying about like buying, actually like investing in your community as opposed to like renting, like especially when you have money like Lil Durk has money. Absolutely. I would hope that Lil Durk doesn't just buy O Block to buy it, just to say he owns O Block, but to buy it and really invest into that community so that they're not repeating the cycle that they're in right now because of the fact that there's no opportunities being offered there. You know what I'm saying? Not to say, I don't want to speak for O Block because I'm not from there, but like very, very clearly, like when you look at the history of especially when Chicago housing, like the projects, like how they've designed the housing, they've essentially created housing to separate the black community from everything else in Chicago. And you see that now that it's played out over time, like you see how much that's affected that community obviously for the worse. So yes, I'm excited about that aspect of having somebody from that community buy and own that like the that property, but it needs to be more than just bought and maintained. You need to really do what the people who had it, the evil white man who owned it before you wouldn't do, which is invest in that property. Like, what would you do, with that ownership? There's a few things that I would think that, like, if you own property and you had the millions to spend on investing in people, that you would do. For example, who's to say? And this is something that we did. I was an RA when I was in college, and a part of that process was holding events for the residents of that building that I was an RA or my floor. Who's to say that you can't do stuff like having hire people from different sectors to talk about career paths and opportunities, and have like a lobby, some sort of recreational or conference area where you invite the residents from the building to have this person who talks about real estate or talks about investing in the stock market or talk, educate people on different things other than just like buying the O Block to say you own it. What else will you do? You know what I'm saying? How will you make it better than what it is now? You can't just buy it and have it be what it is now, because it'll just it'll be the same cycle over and over again, only you own it. And so people are gonna look to you as like, people are dying, what are you gonna do about it? So I'm all for Lil Durk owning it. That sounds dope. And that is a real baller move over like buying like $1 million chain. A baller move is going back to your neighborhood, buying that property, and then changing it for the better. And so I hope that does happen. Lil Durk purchases this property,
that's the intention.
And he does that, because it's one thing to just own, just to say you own. It's another one to really reinvest in the neighborhood that you grew up in and make it a change for the better.
Yeah. So. And I hope that's what happens. So, I would love to see him like put some resources in for like the arts and like music and things like that. That'd be fucking dope.
I don't think it's that far fetched either, man. I just feel like the people in this world who have that power to put those things, into practice, just don't care enough to do it. Because most of like we talk about like, diversity, equity, and inclusion sometimes on this podcast, like when essentially people of color are excluded from certain things. I think those are one of the things that when you start integrating more people from these areas into this part of the business, real estate, for example, that I feel like those are some of the things you're gonna get, is like just over the monetary cost of renting and renting out property, is how will you reinvest in the people that rent out that property? How do you build wealth in that property that you're raising? And I feel like having those, because you see luxury apartments now like popping up around the Lynn, Salem area all the time. And when you look at the amenities, because I'm always like, shopping for an apartment. I typically rent. The place I've looked at, they always have like, oh, there's a pool, there's a gym, there's blah blah. We gotta push further than that and get people who can literally teach the residents of that building how to build wealth, how to be self-sufficient, so on and so forth.
Well, there's a couple of pieces to that, right? So if you're talking about all the new housing, that's not really built for people from Lynn. That stuff's built for like the outskirts of people who want to live, work in Boston.
Rent is super high.
Yeah, so it's like I don't think that type of investor is targeting that, because Durk to me comes off as like, I think he has enough maturity in the game now, and especially with his upbringing, it's very, like Nipsey Hussle-ish or like any of the other rappers before that all came up and kind of like, like they started off like talking about like the nitty gritty and like the street stuff, but then like they kind of had a moment of like, no, I have a responsibility now, right? I have a good following. I have respect in the streets. So I hope, like, I feel like I could trust Durk to, if this was to work out, it's just like how like Nipsey bought like that shop on Slauson, right? Like it's just going to be like something that can give back to the community, and like kind of like that's like you said, that's more baller than buying the chain.
100 times
over. But I think like to compare it, like the investors though, like that are building all these like luxury condominiums, dude, like those are already priced out for people who, it's enticing because like $2,100 for an apartment to somebody who works in like finance in Boston is way more attainable than somebody who, lives in like the heart of Lynn, not even the outskirts of Lynn, right?
Yeah.
So, I don't know really how like you would, how to get to that point of like upbringing the community. That's something I would love to do someday, like with all the stuff that we achieve, to be able to come back and be like, yeah, let's throw some money into like the high school we went to, rebuild the middle school, put a library up, whatever, but it's how do you get that community like to kind of like latch onto you and love you back,
like just imagine like bringing in this like lobby area or this like conference area of this like new apartment complex that you just bought as like Lil Durk as the owner, and being like, all right, I'm gonna hire a guy, an entrepreneur who's successful, and I'm gonna do every Tuesday, y'all can come down to the conference area and learn from this man on how to be an entrepreneur, how to make money, especially how to make money with little money, which is probably like a lot of people in this certain development might not have all the money to invest. Maybe this person is an expert on investing the small amounts of money you have and being smart with it. Like, I feel like I love luxury. I don't love that. Let me take that back. I understand that luxury apartments are a thing, having like, getting an apartment, because I hate apartment buildings. That's why I say like, I don't love them. I hate it. I can never live in an apartment building because I'm just like, it would not work out for my neighbors. But I understand the need for them, and I because people have to live in a place like that sometimes because like they don't have, just the resources to live in other places. So luxury apartments, I get they're a thing, but the luxury they offer now are just pools, workout areas, luxuries like that are nice, but they don't in the long term they don't serve the person.
Right.
If especially when we're talking about like an opportunity of purchasing like O Block where you're buying these huge apartment buildings, fuck the luxury of having a pool and a gym. I mean, the gym is a good thing because obviously health is important, but why not also invest in knowledge and have that as a luxury? It's like, this person every Tuesday, we'll have like some sort of different teacher come in and teach y'all. So that's luxury to me. Knowledge is a luxury. You know what I'm saying? So that's all I got. That's all I got there.
Word. We can move on to the last and final thing that we're going to talk about. So recently, Jay-Z and Nas were on a track together. Sorry, Not Sorry. Produced by DJ Khaled. So, what do y'all think about the song? They're finally on a track together.
Right, so
well, they've been on a few tracks. It's always, I feel like whenever they're on the track together, it's always about how wealthy they are. But
Black Republican being one of my favorite ones.
Yeah.
But Yeah, like I was listening to you guys talk about it, like off mic, and I don't know if you guys noticed, but I just wasn't saying anything because I was just listening to you guys banter about DJ Khaled and like his Snapchat and like how y'all hate how he's just because like in the video like he's just blowing cigar smoke and he's just in the video,
just like watching them.
Yeah, and I think it's like the piece that I wanted to save to talk on mic about you guys was that Khaled is like that DJ that I think is trying to change or has changed the DJ game, because it's like he's basically an artist in himself. Like he just collabs with all these great artists, he builds a relationship and then gets them to get on a track, because like I don't think Jay and Nas were really ever like sitting around going like, yo, you know what, we need a song called Sorry Not Sorry. You know, because like who really like, you know, like some of these collabs, like why would Justin Bieber be on a song with like Chris Brown and like, you know, J Balvin or something?
Yeah,
you know,
he definitely gets like some interesting
collabs.
Yeah,
so I think like Khaled being so obnoxious and just like being everywhere in the thing, it's just kind of like that's the brand, you know, like it's,
I mean, to this day my favorite viral video is him getting lost on a jet ski. It's
that was good, Khaled.
Literally the best thing
I like that.
Seen.
That video is funny because there's a wholesome, organic aspect to it. Yeah. The DJ Khaled as of late is like, you knew he blew up online, and like even people who don't listen to DJ Khaled knows who DJ Khaled is, and like there comes like a level of ego when somebody reaches a level of ego where it's like so apparent that you can't stand. Mm-hmm. I've reached that level with DJ Khaled. Yeah. He's like, bro, like you don't have to be so obnoxious every single time. You know? Yeah. Like I've been watching a lot of his more recent like Instagram posting, and it's like, you know, he's like, you know, has this whole like black choir behind him and they're singing like hymns or whatever like that, and he's like trying to be Jesus and like bringing the camera person in and being like, come in. It's like, bro, you're now affecting the shot, because now it's just a close-up of your fat face as opposed to the choir behind you, you know, with your fat face. It's like, bro, can you just relax and let other people do their jobs as opposed to like being like A-list, like, you know, celeb that needs to be pampered to every second. Like, we don't need that camera so close to your face. Relax, buddy.
But that's the obnoxiousness of him, right? Because like when Snapchat was new, like he was watering plants, and everyone thought that was the craziest thing. Because why would we want to watch videos of an artist like, or like a famous person watering plants? Yeah. So I know I get your frustration. I also don't follow DJ Khaled on Instagram for obvious reasons, but like I think that's the point though. It's like he's like riling up the you know, it's like maybe this is a scam. You know, like we just talked about scam, right? To go right back to the beginning, it's like maybe he's not really like this. He just knows that like this sells, man.
I think it's gotten to his head. I think the whole being recognized on social media has absolutely gotten to his head, and it's so unbearable at this point. It's like there's no humbleness to it anymore. It's just like he just thinks he's the man, and to me, quite honestly, it looks so corny. Like there was one video where I was watching where he was like sitting like in the swamp, like with a dinner table set up, and he's like drinking something, and I don't know, he hears something, he sees something, he just stands up quickly and is looking, and it's like I don't know why I felt this way, but it was like, why does this man seem like just like an idiot? he looks like a moron sometimes, and I don't think he realizes it because he's trying to be so grandiose about everything that it makes you look like a egomaniacal moron. So I don't know. I love that original, like the original DJ Khaled content seemed so organic. Now it just seems so forced, in my opinion. And just going back to the music aspect of it, the Jay-Z and Nas record, that record was alright. I like the record. I really like Nas's verse on it. Sometimes Jay-Z verses go over my head. Like I don't understand why they're so, because everybody's so quick to praise Jay-Z. Sometimes I hear a verse from Jay where I'm just like, I don't really like that.
For him, he's one of those people you kind of have to unpack it. Like it's like the first run you might not get it, but like for me, sometimes I just have to kind of read what he said.
But it's like if I have to do all that to enjoy a line that you drop, it ain't that hot. Okay, but that's Jay, so I know I shouldn't be talking about what lines are hot to Jay-Z. But at the same time, that verse he put on the Khaled, it was like he threw a meatball. It was like, all right, Khaled needs a verse. Let me just write something real quick.
To your point, like
maybe he didn't tell him like Nas was on it. He's just like, yo, I just need a verse from you on this
the
track.
First run through that song, I was like, dude, this hook is super annoying. Like, why is the hook like this? And then there's nothing that either of them said that was like it stuck to the wall. Like it was nothing like you heard it. You're like, wow.
He dropped Nas dropped that cryptocurrency line. Though.
Yeah, I knew you was gonna say something
like
about
Coinbase.
it.
I'm the cryptocurrency Scarface. I was like, okay, Nas.
I was like, coming to an Edwin Instagram post near you, like with the Bitcoin machine behind you. That like I saw that, I actually thought right away. I was like, yeah, Edwin's gonna love that line right there, the crypto joint.
I don't be advertising my love for crypto,
Yeah.
but I'm absolutely big into the crypto
Like,
as well. So
they mad about the second B. They don't even talk about the first one or the third one. Bae, what's up? I'm like, Jay,
I was
shut
trying
up.
to catch what he was doing with it. I've yet to catch because it takes me a while, obviously, to catch like when rappers are trying to do something. What was the whole flip? You know how he was talking about like in his verse? It was like literally the first few bars. He was talking about like flipped it, blah blah blah, something. What was he referencing? I was trying to figure out what he was doing with the music. Like he's like, I don't know if you guys remember that part. It's literally Jay-Z's first 3 bars is like he's flipping up the beat or doing something with it.
So it's $1 billion, right? So it's like he's got his second billion, and then like no one ever thinks about how he already has one already. So that's 2 Bs. And he's like, oh wait, there's actually 3 Bs because of Beyonce. She's the 3rd B.
Okay, all right.
I read the lyrics.
Okay.
Damn, son.
So
John got you on that.
No, it didn't get me. I didn't. No, I'm not.
I read it right while we
educated
were
me, bro.
sitting here, and so I was like,
Did you write that for him?
no,
you
I was in the
ghostwrite that?
studio just bobbing my head, and
I just thought that
Yeah.
was like, all right, that wasn't a hot line.
Yeah.
Like 3 Bs. I don't know.
I was like, I
whatever.
don't want another lemonade joint. You should really
Yeah.
shout out your wife.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't want to get in trouble, so I'm gonna just shout Beyonce on the 3rd B. I don't want to forget her. All right,
She's
cool.
in the background, just like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
come on.
And I love old Jay, grown man Jay, investor Jay rapping about shit. I love 444. I didn't think that this specific track was crazy. It was lacking.
Yeah.
It was lacking.
Yeah.
If anything, it could be like a sign of like the legends really need to just kind of let it go. Like I don't think Nas and Jay-Z, like there's no more of that like, oh man, like they made a song together, like woohoo. Like,
Nah, yeah, that's over.
That's done.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And they were definitely trying to push it to be that.
Mhm.
And it's just like, this has been done.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, Black Republican had that feeling. Even the beat, like they didn't even. Oh man, I love that song.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah, I don't even think a lot of people like that song either.
really?
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people like that song either. But to each their own, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
Before we end things, I want to talk about one thing that I saw online that I
Okay.
don't want to. I was talking about this before the pod, but I had to talk about this. It was like it's just the most ridiculous, stupid bullshit that an artist could do. I'm talking about Blueface. So I don't know if y'all see it. We're not gonna play it here because it's like it literally is incriminating footage. But like, Blueface was caught on camera. Essentially, like apparently he was at a hotel or like he rented like an Airbnb, and it's like an apartment building. Again, reason why I hate apartment building is like you can't make that much noise because there's somebody to the left of you, to the right of you, above you, below you. Like I hate apartment buildings for that aspect. I can never live in one for that aspect. So anyway, Blueface is either in a hotel or an apartment building, and the next door neighbor right next door was like they were making a lot of noise. It's Blueface and his posse of like women. And if you've been following Blueface, he has like a huge posse of crazy women who are just like fighting at the drop of a hat.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
so the next door neighbor seemed like I couldn't see the person physically, but it seemed like one of these like it sounded like a dopey. Could have been like a dopey white guy. In my brain, it was like a dopey white guy. He's just telling these people to keep it down because Blueface got a whole apartment packed out with crazy women being loud as hell. And so the next door neighbor, I think, we didn't get that part of the footage, but I think just asked them to keep it down. And maybe made a couple of different complaints. I don't know, maybe even raised his voice. What I know for sure is that he didn't deserve the beatdown that Blueface and his homie gave him. Because like the video started with Blueface at the door. Like imagine like you're in the hallway of an apartment complex and you knocked on this person's door and they kind of like open a little bit, but they don't know who you are, so they didn't open it all the way. And so that's where the footage started. It's like this person has the door kind of ajar talking to Blueface, and Blueface is like pretty much asking if he was the guy that's complaining. It seems civil for like a split second, and then Blueface just pushes the door open. Him and his homie rush in, and they put the beats on this dude. And then for a minute, all you hear is homie crying like he's being jumped in middle school. Like it's just him going, ow,
I'm sure he
ow."
didn't think he was getting jumped when he opened the door.
Oh, he did not, because homie, and it's a terrible situation because I don't want to laugh at somebody getting jumped, but like it was absolutely a grown man, but the way he was crying was like he was crying if he was like in middle school getting like in a fight or something like that. It was just like ow, ow, ah, just like, and so I don't want to laugh at it, like I said, because it's terrible, but like it just made me think, bro, this is like, you're a rapper. Blueface is like a rapper. Apparently he's a Crip. Why are you putting hands on somebody who sounds defenseless? And why would you be filming it? It doesn't look tough. Yeah. You look like a fucking idiot. And also, it's super goddamn illegal. Mm-hmm. So why would somebody from your crew be filming this? And why would you do it to begin with and put it out on the internet?
Yeah.
Because it don't make you look tough, the fact that you're beating up some defenseless guy who's crying because you're hitting him. Right. Like it just makes you look like a bully. So I wanted to shout that out because like I watched that. I was so infuriated when I was watching that because it made me think of like just like when bullies like target somebody who's so beneath them that like it makes them feel like an ego stroke. But it's like anybody else watching is like, bro, like yeah, you can beat that guy up obviously, but why would you do it? Yeah. So anyway, fuck Blueface because that was bullshit.
Yeah, that's super shitty.
So Ed, just don't answer the door.
Yeah, I won't be going to LA anytime soon.
All right. Is there anything else that we want to add?
We're not scammers, so just want to throw that out there. We don't do
not
that.
yet. Not yet. You know, maybe 5 years from now when all fails and nobody's fucking with Grindhouse, maybe we would have to resort to swiping some credit cards just to make it by.
We'd be called Swipe House.
Swipe House. Yeah, but no, that's not our bag. We prefer, you know, we're schmucks, so we prefer making money the regular legal means.
The clean way.
Yeah. But if you guys fuck with what we do, again, thank you for joining us. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Share this out. Yeah, thank you for hanging out with us.